Goals is where you want to start because that will influence everything else you do. YouTube is a king of the hill. It's a utility, so people are using it more and more, especially with this whole pandemic and this crisis.
Want a copy of YouTube Secrets audiobook for free? Right now, when you sign up for a free 30-day trial of Audible, you can also get a complimentary copy of the #1 best-selling YouTube strategy book in the world. Download your copy today at tubesecretsaudio.com.
What's up, influencers? Sean Cannell here, and I'm so fired up because in this video, I actually get to interview Benji Travis, the co-founder of Video Influencers. You know, on our channel, we've had the chance to interview some incredible entrepreneurs like Gary Vaynerchuk or a Grant Cardone, and some powerful YouTubers that are crushing it in all kinds of different niches. But the co-founder of this very channel is an incredible YouTuber and business strategist in his own right. And so I wanted to talk about, Benji, if you were to start from scratch, what would you do today to build up a channel? And in this video, he's going to be sharing his 5 tips. And if you don't know Benji, not only is he a successful YouTuber with multiple different channels, a business strategist, him and his wife together across their channels have over 1 billion video views, and together they've built a 7-figure business and additionally helped others, thousands of creators, really achieve their dreams when it comes to YouTube and grow many successful channels. He's the co-author of the #1 best-selling YouTube strategy book, YouTube Secrets, along with myself, and I'm so excited to get into this content today. So smash the like button. Let me know, where in the world are you watching from in the comment section below. This influencers community is amazing, and let's jump into the feature content.
Okay, so Benji, you've been in the game for a long time in this YouTube thing. Over a decade, you've been a part of multiple channels. You've had some amazing successes. You've learned a lot of lessons. If you were starting from scratch today, what is it you would do now that the YouTube landscape has changed? What's the first step?
Well, thanks, Sean. Yeah, first off, I've made a lot of mistakes. And so this first one, I'd say, is the most important that I learned. And in fact, we included it in our book, YouTube Secrets, is having clarity. Clarity in my goals, clarity in what my channel is going to be about, and ultimately what my content is. So goals is where you want to start because that will influence everything else you do, how you brand your channel, what your videos are going to be about, and who it's going to be for. For example, everybody assumes you have to be super famous. You have to have 1 million subscribers. You and I both know to accomplish a business goal, for example, like real estate, I want to sell more homes. You don't need 1 million subscribers. You just need the right viewers that will become clients, right? Or potential partners that you work with. So I'd say start with the goals, what you want to accomplish in your business, whether it's make a lot of money, connect with these certain type of clients for a service. Secondly, what your channel will be about, and ultimately what your videos are going to be and who the viewer is, because it's going to take away all the unnecessary work to help you be more productive and efficient.
Yeah, like they say, no goals, no growth. And so starting with the end in mind and having clear goals, that's so powerful. Well, what is tip number 2?
So Sean, the next thing I would focus on is pick a niche that's unique but growing. Now, the first disclosure I would make is make sure whatever it is you pick, you're passionate about, or you're an expert in, or have a lot of experience on. Because ultimately, a lot of people, they'll pick a niche or a type of genre for content based off of what's getting viewed or what's trendy. And that's not sustainable. You'll get burnt out because you're not really passionate about it. So that's the first disclosure. But still, like, a niche is really important because, again, that's going to help you cut down a little bit of your competition. If you pick something that is very competitive or broad, there's already a lot of people trying to compete for those views. So a niche is important, but also growing, right? Like, I'd say like television, for example, like it's kind of a horrible example, but television is dying, right? Like everybody knows we're going digital. So like I wouldn't want to be like a television expert, but I definitely would want to be like a podcast expert. That's not going away. That's unique. Like for example, you even mentioned it, biohacking, right? People love upping the body's potential or performance. Also mobile phones. That's a unique one that's going to grow. Secondary to picking a niche, in growing, make sure you have kind of an overarching niche, but you want to specifically make sure you focus your first content on that smaller niche. Now, I'd say for me personally, a good example is I love food, right? So you would assume I would just do recipe videos. But if I'm starting over for the first time, I'm just going to do one pot recipe meal videos, because that can grow into just regular recipes. Especially with what's going on in the world today, more people are at home, especially a lot of people that didn't cook before. So I'm thinking like there's a lot of potential here, because we know more people aren't going to be going out dining. They're doing takeaway or delivery, and they're maybe like wanting to cook better food and better healthy food. So I would start there knowing I could grow into a bigger niche.
That's a great point. And thinking about where is the viewer? You know, we're living in this pandemic, and who even knows what the world's going to look like over the next couple of years. But you pointed to a lot of trends, people cooking from home. There's the rise of remote workers. There's certain things. So you want to create content and pick a niche that's reverse engineered for where viewer attention is. That's really smart.
Exactly.
Well, what's the third tip?
The third thing I would focus on is 100% content creation as soon as possible. So many people come up to me, and even myself, they get involved and they put effort out into things that's not going to help your YouTube channel, help you grow and get discovered and like grow an audience. So whether that's setting up your business or starting a new checking account at the bank. I mean, you and I both know there's a ton of things that we hear that people think are as important. Even to a degree, like we talk about monetizing right from the beginning, but if I had to choose, all content creation, even if I'm not that good at it, in the midst of creating content, uploading to YouTube, trying to rank, trying to get views, you learn so much. And why that is so important, ultimately to grow your audience, you have to have content, right? How many people we've heard like, hey, I'm a YouTuber, I create content, and they've got like 2 to 10 videos. No, you've got to focus on trying to make 100 videos as soon as possible, even at the risk that the first 10 or 20 maybe aren't your best, which is always the case. So I would literally focus 100% on creating content and not get distracted with anything else that doesn't help with that.
Well, what's tip number 4 then for starting from scratch this year?
So definitely I would go all in on YouTube. No disrespect to those other platforms, but I mean, even our book titled YouTube Secrets is because we've seen that there's an evolution of media. Some platforms are, doing well today, like Snapchat. Next day, not doing so well. YouTube is a king of the hill. And what I love about YouTube, it's a utility. So people are using it more and more, especially with this whole pandemic and this crisis. I do believe the discovery on YouTube is the most powerful. So if I had to put a percentage, I still would use social media because I think it's important to try to promote to the audience you are growing and to connect with other creators. However, I go 95% on YouTube. The other 5% is literally just to promote your video, to start dripping on those platforms to grow an audience. But YouTube is a place. And there's so much to learn on YouTube itself. I mean, if you're brand new to this, even me, like today, YouTube is a much different platform than a decade ago. So you kind of have to relearn everything. And with people knowing how important YouTube is, you want to be competitive and be on the cutting edge of what works with this platform. So ultimately, you can put out videos that get views, so you get discovered, grow an audience, and literally everything else follows.
I love that. And I love how that also connects to the prior point. You're saying go all in on YouTube. And the title of this conversation is how to start a YouTube channel from scratch. So you're talking about radical focus, going all in on the thing you actually want to grow and killing distractions. Super powerful.
Hey, we're going to get into tip number 5 in just a second, but if you've been getting value out of this video so far, could you hit the like button and let me know in the comment section below. Benji's second tip was pick a niche that is unique and growing. So I'm curious, have you already started your YouTube channel, and what is your channel about? What niche are you in? Tell me in the comment section below, and let's get into tip number 5.
Well, that brings us to number 5. What would you do finally to really start a YouTube channel from scratch right now?
The last tip I would give to people is focus on the holy trio of YouTube, and that's thumbnails, titles, and content. So just like in the beginning, there's so many different things you can learn or get better at, but ultimately, even a decade later, with more tools being offered to creators, we got the community tab, we've got new functions, new ways to monetize. Those are the three things that's going to give you the best return on your efforts, because ultimately YouTube is a utility. I keep saying this, but I can't say it enough. It's a tool people use to find content, and that's how you get discovered. And let's just talk practically. The title, that's kind of the biggest factor to YouTube, what your video is about. The thumbnail, that's the visual that's advertising the content that's in your video. And you don't want to put all your work into editing something dope. It's perfectly structured. It's very valuable. And then the thumbnail doesn't do it justice. But of course, at the end of the day, it's all about the video. In fact, the algorithm is so powerful now that even with an okay title and okay thumbnail, it knows what you put into your edit because it's using technology like face recognition, can tell that you've got certain objects. So it's almost like filling out your internal metadata with information for you. And YouTube has done this. They put out an effort to make it easier for people to upload without overthinking it. So ultimately, obviously the title and thumbnail, but I'd say 60, maybe 80% of your work needs to go into the content, making sure it's a topic people care about, or it's a video that is valuable for somebody. It's edited nice, right? Or at least it's entertaining and keeps people engaged and keeps them interested so they're watching. Last thing I'll say about this in terms of the video, it's all about audience retention and watch time. So audience retention is the percentage of your video that people watch. So the goal is to watch 100%. Oftentimes people don't know this, but only 5, 10, sometimes 15% of your video is getting watched. So out of a 10-minute video, they're only watching a minute and a half. Your goal is to get them to watch 8, 9, 10 minutes. If you do that over and over and over, YouTube knows your videos are a safe bet to promote to people. Again, getting discovered. And then ultimately, it's all about that watch time, which I actually call it session time, because say you had an hour-long video. Say you have shorter videos, but you stack the views. So somebody goes to your 10-minute video and watches another 5-minute video. As long as that keeps stacking and creates a longer session time, you're going to get rewarded more than anything. And this is why at the end of the day, definitely want to work on your title and your thumbnail, give it your best effort, but maybe 20%. 80% needs to be on that video. Make sure that gets viewed, because ultimately that's what YouTube's all about.
Powerful. Well, Benji, what is your final advice for those that want to start a YouTube channel and are dealing with the mindset side of things and dealing with the motivation and the fear maybe of what people are going to think, or fear of judgment? You gave so many practical and tactical tips. What is some advice as we land the plane on kind of the inner game of YouTube?
Yeah, well, first off, I would ask yourself, do you use YouTube, and how do you use it, right? And multiply that by 1 billion people and potentially 7 billion people on this planet. That's the audience that you could potentially reach. Now, obviously, we don't have any billion subscriber channels yet, but PewDiePie just hit 100 million subscribers. There's this huge audience that's just waiting for your content. You as a unique person connecting with other people. The reason I bring it back to that whole point of how do you watch YouTube? You don't have to overthink it. We have a book, we have some courses, we put out videos, but you can be the best lesson in terms of how to go about YouTube. Just ask yourself, when I go to YouTube, what do? Do I type into the search bar what I want to see? Am I looking at my subscriptions? Think of the user behavior. Obviously, you're using yourself as the initial kind of gauge, but it's going to put you in the mindset of I need to put myself into the shoes of the person watching. In terms of motivation and thinking about the judgment and hate, I've been doing this for 10 years, Sean. Literally, I've been called every little thing. A family vlogger, content creator could get called that you would never think would relate, and I'm still here. And I'm still doing this, right? In fact, we're doubling down on, even after all the judgment and hate and all the negative comments, I've continued to start more channels. Why would I do that? See, the upside is way better than the downside of the negative stuff, right? And one thing I'll say, and this is putting it more simply, people are going to judge you whether you do something or not. When you're walking on the street, somebody is judging you if they're across the street and looking at you. It might be good, it might be bad. You just don't know. The thing about YouTube, there's a comment area people can put whatever their random thought is. It could be a 13-year-old, could be a 30-year-old, could be a 90-year-old, right? You don't know. You don't know where their headspace is at. And so that's just what's unique, not just about YouTube as social media. And obviously, there's some downsides to it, but there's some huge upsides. One thing that my wife and I always say, we always focus on the positive, productive things that YouTube has brought us and not the negative, because usually the negative is literally like 1%, maybe like 3%, but even then, it's still like 97, 95% good in our life. I'd rather have that at the risk of experiencing some of those negative feelings than not doing anything and not getting anything.